Twisha Christian back with a video entitled De-Dollarization of the Global Currency System. I thank you guys for subscribing. We're up to 4,100 subscribers. I thank you guys for your support on the Patreon. We're up to 53 Patreons. If you guys want to go ahead and give your support, go ahead and go to the link below. Now, the last video that I did, I received a lot of comments about how to get started with the Kim Clement video. And you just need to go to the Patreon. I've actually posted that up totally for free. So just go ahead and go to that. Go to the Patreon. The link is below in the description. And then you guys can look and see where to get started. Now, if I was explained in my past videos, there's a currency war going on between the United States, China, and also Russia as well. I was waiting for the gold report that was coming out for this month, and it has arrived. Now, but before we get into that gold report, what you guys need to understand what's really going on with the whole thing with China and the United States. And you guys need a little bit of background of actually what's been going on. Now, when the previous president, Bill Clinton, was in office, he basically allowed China, didn't try to stop China from joining the World Trade Organization in December 2001. When that actually took place, since 2002, there's been a lot of job losses, a mass trade deficit, and just a lot of other things. But as of 2018, the U.S. trade deficit hit $419.2 billion. So that's a pretty big gap, especially when you're dealing with a country like China. And then between 2001 and 2015, the United States lost 3.4 million jobs due to China manufacturing. That's direct loss. That means that those jobs went directly over to China. Along with that, as you've already know, that many of you know that China consistently manipulates their currency. The United States wasn't the only country that lost a lot of jobs to China, but other countries in Asia, South America, Canada, no one was immune from losing jobs to China. And that's why this trade deal is very important. Also, too, China's been involved in massive state-sponsored hacking of companies, governments, and financial institutions worldwide. And it's pretty well known, if you do your research, they've done this for many, many years. And currently, right now, we're in a full-blown trade war and a currency war with China. Now, to get back to what China has done in July, as far as what they've done, I have an article here. China bought gold for the 8th straight month, and it's just the latest sign the nation is in the trade war for the long haul. All right, now China bought 10 tons of gold in July. It's absolutely crazy. And so what's really going on is that they are currently trying to de-dollarize, get rid of the dollar so they can move around the sanctions. In many other countries like Russia and Turkey as well. They want to keep dealing with Iran. They want to keep dealing with Venezuela. So the way to do that is to get rid of the dollar so they're not making their purchases in the dollar. They can make their purchases in other ways so they can get around the sanctions. Now, I'm pulling up this article, and it deals with the de-dollarization. And there's another country that bought just as much gold, and that was Turkey. And Turkey has moved up. They have bought over 10 tons of gold in July too as well. And you just know that in my previous videos, the president of Turkey actually fired the head of the central bank because they want to go to a gold-backed system. And that's what China's doing. That's what Russia's doing. And as you already know, the president of the United States said over the last several years that he also wants to go to a gold-backed standard. But the current head of the Federal Reserve does not want to do that. When these countries do start to go to a gold-backed system, it's going to hurt the American dollar. And then eventually, the United States will have to make their move and go back to the gold-backed standard. So this article here says, led by Russia and China, the world is accelerating its move away from the US dollar, but rather than increasing the buys of other currencies, more of the world's financial authorities are buying gold. Central banks this year purchased a record of 374.1 tons of gold in the first half of the year. The gold buying binge is the latest move by China, Russia, and emerging countries like Turkey to decouple themselves and the rest of the global financial system from the US dollar. The status of the dollar as the world's funding currency is paramount to the U.S. position, not just in global financial markets, but in terms of position as the world's major superpower. Central banks bought 224 tons of gold in just the second quarter, accounting for 60% of the total gold demand. Poland has more than doubled its gold holdings over the last 2 years. Buying by central banks during the first 5 months of 2019 is 73% higher than the year earlier. If you guys have been following the videos, you guys already know that the whole central banking system is going for a change. And one of those changes is because, none of these countries can really do what they want to do. And a lot of this started back in 2009 after Obama took over in office. You already know that China and Russia did not get along with Obama at all whatsoever. And they started buying all this gold back then. If you look at the central banking figures of all the central banks, they've been on a huge buying spree since 2009, 10, 11, and 12. And part of that does deal with what has happened with some of the previous administrations, what was going on in Iraq and in other countries with Saudi Arabia, and some of the deals that we had that a lot of those countries did not like, and for good reason, because a lot of those were state-sponsored. I can't even say the word, but just the United States. Previously, we've had our hands in a lot of things that we shouldn't have had our hands in. So saying that, right now, they're still continuing on the path. And with China, part of the big thing with China is that they've been basically stealing from the United States because of the currency manipulation, but of also the current deals that we used to have in place. So it does make a difference what happens, because if things were to continue the way they were, we would continue to lose direct manufacturing jobs to China. And that's just the bottom line. And if you guys don't support a new deal, then we will continue to see more job losses directly to China. So I'm going to pull up the 2019 August gold report. The United States still has way more gold than any of the other countries combined. When you look at Russia, China, and Turkey, we still have way more gold. So even though that they may go to a gold-backed system, or the way that the central banks are operating, when the new financial system takes place, the United States will respond, but not right away. And then we will go to a gold-backed system, and then our dollar will be stronger than any other currency. Now on this, you can see where China, 1,916.3 tons of gold. And then you can see here the August report, 1,926. And then if you look at Turkey, they had 302 tons of gold, and then now they're up to 314 tons of gold. So they actually bought 12 tons of gold. That was more than China. So obviously Turkey is planning something big too as well. And you guys already know that the global currency reset is going to take place. Despite everything that you hear on the news, that's why you can't pay attention to what's going on in the news and do your own research, because a lot of these things are happening, but the country's more, at least here in the United States, they're more concerned about the political aspect of what's going on. But yet the world and the current financial system that we currently have is going away. And it's going to affect everybody more positively. Here in the United States, it will affect us to a certain degree, but then the United States will respond with a gold-backed dollar. They won't have a choice but to respond to a gold-backed dollar. You guys know this current system, and I've showed you many times, the world debt is at $244 trillion. That is a system that cannot currently operate the way that it is. The central banks have printed and loaned out so much money, you don't even know who $244 trillion even goes to. Who owns those debts? It's absolutely insane. And that's a system that they've always tried to maintain. They left the gold standard back 30, 40, 50 years ago. Different countries started leaving the gold standard and started going over to this current central bank system that we have now, and it's been awful. It's just been horrible. So as we move into the next month, the next few months, I wouldn't look for a deal, a U.S. trade China deal right away. But many of you have still not put yourself in position. When this deal does take place, there's going to be a lot of there's going to be a lot of stocks, a lot of energy stocks. I've posted those in other videos. There's other industries that are also going to take off. The United States currently, and that's one of the things that which you guys don't understand, is that the United States actually now has the world's largest oil reserve. We have more than Saudi Arabia. We have more than many of these countries combined. And many of the rigs, many of the oil businesses, they've been coming back and they've been building the rigs out on the ocean, and they've been drilling and drilling and drilling because we have so much oil that we will be able to sustain a strong dollar even without the gold. The United States has begun to not import but export oil, and you're going to see a lot more of that in the next 3 to 4 years. And so make sure to sign up with Robinhood. The links are down below in the description, and prepare yourselves because many of you are just focused on the dinar and the dong and a few other currencies when there are so many other investments that are out there, and they're just brewing for you guys to make money. So with that, Twisted Christian out.